Alright, I am now recording. Welcome back. I'm kind of hitting the ground running today because I needed to get some food to eat, and by the time I was ready to go, it was already ready to time to stream. So no music warm up for me today, so I'm just kind of going in cold. But yeah, we are still in episode 1. Episode 1 has been kind of bonkers and is ready for a part 3. So it's been almost a week since I've played this, so hopefully I remember all of the important details. Will I? Probably not. Well, I understand you are the judicial assistant to the defense, but why this sudden ingress into my courtroom?
Ha! A judicial assistant, and a woman no less. The rules state that females are not permitted into this court of law other than to testify.
Yes, I fully understand. I ask only for 5 minutes of time. I have some vital evidence that I must hand over to the defense.
Ha! You're too late, little girl. This trial is already concluded.
5 minutes. I will not allow a moment more.
But, Your Excellency...
I am most grateful.
Who exactly are you?
I'm sorry, there is no time. Please simply accept this for now.
What is it? A report about something? Written in English.
It's Jezile Brett's research.
The Englishwoman's?
After the trial resumed earlier, I hurried back to the university. I went to Dr. Wilson's laboratory in the medical faculty and borrowed this paper.
Oh yes, that's right. Miss Brett was studying under the professor, wasn't she? So, does this research, whatever it is, have something to do with the case?
I'm afraid I don't know. I haven't been able to listen to the proceedings of the trial myself.
Oh. No, of course not. Special characteristics of curare and its effects on human subjects. Interesting. Curare? What's that? I've never heard that word before.
Time's up! Prosecution demands the immediate removal of this female trespasser from the courtroom.
There was too little time for me to read it in detail, but I've summarized what I could on a note just inside the cover. If you think it could be valuable, please cast your eye over it.
This is wonderful, thank you. Alright, now we're gonna pick over that with a fine-tooth comb. Give me the button prompt!
Goodbye then, and good luck.
Right, there we go. Let me see the thing! Poison made from the bark of certain trees in the jungles of South America. Hunters of the reason have used it since ancient times to incapacitate their prey. Effects instant paralysis of the entire body and subsequent death, even in minute doses. The above-mentioned effects occur when the poison enters the body through a wound, such as that inflicted by a blowpipe dart. Okay, so slight problem. Has to be... It's not eaten. Oh! This works! You have had long enough, Counsel. We cannot detain our English guest any longer. 1 second here. Doo-doo. I forgot to do one quick thing. There we go. Alrighty. Quick thing has been taken care of. I ask the prosecution and the defense now one last time. Does either side have any further evidence to present to the court? I presume not, but...
The prosecution has made its case convincingly enough already. Nothing more to add, Your Excellency.
Ryunosuke, we're out of options here. This really is our very last chance.
Yes, I know.
Your Excellency, the defense does have new evidence. Look. The unyielding stare of a true Japanese warrior. Well, Miss Brett?
Yes, Your Excellency.
If you wouldn't mind, perhaps you could grace us with your presence a little longer.
It's a delightful invitation, but I'm afraid it's not so very long until tea time. I'll have to politely decline.
Forgive me, Miss Brett. It seems I wasn't clear. I realize it was phrased as a question, however. I must ask you to treat that as an order.
I've said it many times before, but the Japanese language makes no sense.
My apologies, dear lady. So, counsel, what is this new evidence that demands the court's attention? Why, the thing I was just given.
Yes!
Imagine that. Miss Jezile Brett, we understand you were studying under Dr. Wilson at Yume University, doing research. Research, by sheer coincidence perhaps, into a deadly poison.
What?
Poison? Where are you going with this, counsel? A toxin known as curare, Your Excellency. Even the slightest amount of this deadly poison entering the body leads to instant death.
What complete and utter nonsense. Curare, you say? I've never even heard of it.
You wouldn't have done.
What do you mean?
I mean that you wouldn't have heard of curare before, for one very simple reason. It doesn't exist in our country. It doesn't exist.
Correct. Which means, no matter what tests the police can do for toxins, they'd never identify curare.
Why?
Because there is no test available here that can identify the presence of this highly deadly poison. What?
I'm gonna look this up. Is this real? It is real. It's called curare. Okay, curare. It is a common name for various plant extract alkaloid arrow poisons.
Oh.
Okay. That's cool. Order. Counsel, does this deadly poison truly exist? According to this report, authorized by the visiting research student from England, curare has long been used by the tribespeople of South America as a poison to lace their arrows. It seems that it's reasonably well known among European doctors and scientists.
To lace their arrows?
The report states that it's produced from the extract of a tree that grows deep in the Amazonian jungle. It was first brought back to Europe at the turn of the century by explorers. It claims that animals shot by arrows laced with curare suffer instant death. That about sum it up, Miss Brett.
Objection! A trumpery! These aspersions are utter trumpery. To start with, if the victim had been administered some of this so-called deadly poison, he would have been squirming and writhing in pain, and the other diners would have surely noticed.
That's true. What do you say to that, Inspector? Obviously, I would have noticed a disturbance like that.
I don't remember anything like that either.
Didn't notice the professor being in any kind of pain. According to this, however, it's the other way around.
What do you mean, the other way around?
The very fact that the victim didn't show any visible signs of distress is evidence that curare was used. Explain yourself, counsel. The moment this toxin enters a person's system, it causes instant paralysis. In other words, afflicted victims lose all strength and are completely unable to move. Even if they were in total agony, there would be no visible signs of pain at all. How terrible. Obviously, if a man lost all the strength in his muscles, he'd collapse on the floor, but with a chair underneath him for support, as Dr. Wilson did, the effects could go largely unnoticed. But I don't follow, Kazuma. That's just paralysis. I thought the poison caused instant death. The full explanation is extremely unpleasant. Poison causes immediate paralysis, as I said, leaving the victim unable to move. But after a short time, the paralysis is so severe it causes the muscles that control respiration to fail. Respiration? In other words, the actual cause of death is suffocation. All the while, the victim is conscious and aware, just unable to move. That's hideous! To the observer, it would look almost like the victim was sleeping peacefully into an endless sleep. But for the victim himself, his final moments would be a living hell. That is the true nature of this deadly curare poison. You're suggesting that this bottle, Counsel, actually contains this terrifying poison.
Objection!
This is all very convenient, isn't it? A hitherto unknown poison for which there is no means of testing. What a happy tale for the defense. Ahem. If I may. All the facts? Shut up! It is you who must be taught. Of course. Dear lady. So this is how you Japanese behave, is it? What? You steal another's honest hard work, and then announce the results as if you discovered them. I'm appalled. What a loathsome act.
Well, Miss Brett, the feeling is mutual.
Whatever do you mean?
Capitalizing on the unfortunate circumstances of an innocent man to frame him for a heinous crime, that really is a loathsome act. Wouldn't you agree?
Objection!
Enough of this! I, for one, refuse to accept it. The idea of some poison that doesn't even exist in the great empire of Japan is breaking the rules.
What's so funny?
Oh, excuse me, Your Excellency.
Yes, Miss Brett.
May I borrow that bottle for a moment, please?
Well, yes, I don't see, why not?
Don't get too big for your boots, you insignificant little island boys.
Sorry?
To an Englishwoman such as myself, this whole affair is a farcical comedy. Your little police games and these foolish courtroom antics. It's laughable, really. But I'm getting bored of it all now. It's time for the games to end. Cheers.
Wait, what are you doing?
No sparkle left at all. How appropriate for this shabby affair.
goodness. Whatever is the matter? You all look quite stunned.
So, no curare. The bottle was clean, is that what you're saying?
You look quite incredulous, little boy, but of course, that's the simple truth. Thank you for presenting the findings of my research so concisely here in this grand venue. Most kind. Thank you, waiter. Now then, Your Excellency.
Yes, Miss Brett.
I should like to be excused now, please. I think I've given more than enough of my time for the furtherance of friendship between our countries.
Yes, dear lady, we are most gratified with the assistance you have given. This doesn't make sense. There had to have been poison in that bottle. So how? How did she swallow a whole glass and live to tell the tale? Don't understand it.
Well, I suppose if nothing else, this little Far Eastern charade will make for interesting conversation at the next party I attend in London.
There has to have been poison in that bottle, doesn't there?
But there can't have been, because otherwise she would have keeled over dead.
Come on, Renosuke. We have all the clues now. That bottle of water. The culprit did put curare poison into Dr. Wilson's carbonated water. The defense refuses to change its position. You're serious.
Fool! Are you blind? There's no possible way that the bottle could contain poison. I mean, we just saw
Miss Brett drinking the water from it?
That's right, which rather complicates your argument, I think.
And I believe that complication can be explained.
How exactly?
Need to think through all the things that don't quite add up here one by one. Sure, the answer is in the evidence we have in the court record somewhere. It has to be. Very well. If the defense truly intends to assert this claim, then I must ask you to support the assertion with evidence. What explains how the witness was able to consume the supposedly poisoned water unscathed? The report.
Yes!
The answer to this riddle is right here in Miss Brett's own research report.
That's not a valid explanation.
No?
After all, we don't speak English. That report is utter gibberish. This impudent young scoundrel is trying to ridicule the court, Your Excellency.
I'm not trying to ridicule anyone, honest. I'm just reading Susato-san's notes. I concur. The report is too extensive to be considered in its entirety by the court. You will direct us to the pertinent section, counsel. Which section of the report reveals the alleged answer to this riddle? Special characteristics. I hit A instead of B. There we go. Special characteristics. We've been hearing a lot about this curare poison. It's left me curious about something. Oh, counsel? Well, it sounds as though indigenous hunters have been using this poison for years and years to lace the heads of arrows that they shoot at whatever prey they're hunting. So we've been led to believe, yes. And the point of hunting is to catch prey to eat.
Get to the point, please.
But if they were to use these laced arrows, doesn't that mean there would be traces of poison left in the prey the hunters were going to eat? Yes, good point. So surely the hunters wouldn't want to eat their prey, would they? Because then they'd be eating poison. Good gracious. Counsel, no, that would be madness.
I actually found the answer to that conundrum. In this research paper here, under special characteristics, it says this. The poison starts to work after entering the body through a wound.
Through a wound, you say?
I see, that makes sense. Yes. Mention of that particular detail seemed a little strange to me, though. But it all makes sense when you interpret what's written like this. When curare enters the body through an open wound, it has terrifying poisonous effects. However, when it enters the body via the mouth, it has no poisonous effects whatsoever. What? Miss Brett? You authored this research. You knew curare's special characteristics, and you knew that you could make a spectacle of drinking that water without any danger to yourself. You meddling little rapscallion? Well, Ryunosuke, it turns out you're an even better lawyer than I thought you'd be. Really? Me? A lawyer?
Objection!
All this poison talk is fascinating, I'm sure, but I fail to see how it possibly... So, the ill-bred little puppy has a new toy to play with, some facts he read in a book. But I'm afraid knowledge doesn't suit you, little boy. Well, he makes you look silly. And what are you trying to say? Your schoolboyish logic has a fatal flaw. Schoolboyish? Flaw. As even your brain has managed to deduce, curare is safe to ingest. Seems likely that its effects are neutralized by the acidic nature of the gastric succus. Oh, yes, well, of course. Gastric suckers? What are they? So this lethal poison is completely harmless when drunk. The professor wouldn't have died when he swallowed it, would he? That's right.
Oh, good gracious.
That's basic science. Science that even schoolboys should be able to understand, no?
I know the secret.
Order in the court, order. The logic holds. The lady and the professor drank the same poison, they would be affected the same way.
Are you trying to suggest... Yes! This curare poison is completely irrelevant to the case on trial. That's right. Surely even a little cockroach like you could understand something as simple as that.
What is this welling up inside me?
Never felt like this before. The sort of conviction to break down all the discrepancies. It's so intense, almost rage-like. More than anything else, it's an animalistic desire to take down my prey.
Objection!
Oh, he did the thing!
I don't think so, Miss Jezzel Brett. How dare you use that tone with me? You know very well that there's no fatal flaw here. You know exactly why, even though both of you and the victim swallowed the same poison. You are alive, but Dr. Wilson is dead. I like the use of the mask to show her surprise by it being farther away from her face and bigger. That's really good.
Counsel, I'm sure I don't need to remind you. You must provide compelling evidence, as we now know that this poison is completely harmless when ingested. Why would Dr. Wilson alone have been killed by the curare?
The medical report. As Miss Brett so readily pointed out, she drank the same water as the professor. However, there was a fundamental and fatal difference between the two diners.
A fatal difference?
The toxic effects of curare are only felt when the poison enters the body through an open wound. So, for a healthy person with no injuries, drinking it is completely harmless. But what if there was a wound inside the mouth of the person drinking the poisoned water? Inside? Yes, like the wound you might have
if you had just been to the dentist and had a tooth extracted, for example. Aha! Miss Brett, you've acknowledged many times in your testimony already that you were well aware of Dr. Wilson's dental appointment that day. So that's it. You used that knowledge to orchestrate this. Is she laughing?
I don't like to repeat myself, but honestly, I can't resist. These childish courtroom games and your half-baked arguments are also puerile. What do you mean? Oh, don't worry, little schoolboy, you'll find out soon enough. You see, when you leave vital evidence lying around, you never know what might happen to it.
No.
I mean, it could just slip. Oh dear. How careless of me. I'm afraid some crucial evidence may have just been tragically destroyed.
No!
She just smashed that bottle. And at the Supreme Court, what a terrible blunder.
Officer, what are you waiting for? Collect up as much of the water from that broken bottle as possible, at once.
You're wasting your time. This delightful carpet under my feet here was a gift from the British Empire. I assure you it will soak up the water beautifully. You have neither the technology nor the presence of mind to recover it.
How could you? You won't get away with this.
You can thump the bench and shout as much as you like, little boy. But I'm afraid we'll never know now, will we? There really was poison in the bottle, or not? And let us not forget, we still have some very compelling evidence left intact. Isn't that right, counsel for the prosecution? Oh, of course, of course. You're referring to this photographic print, I presume, dear lady? That's right. And really, looking at this photograph, it's as clear as day, isn't it? The poor professor was sitting with his back to me. So of course the only person who could have shot him from the front is the little schoolboy.
No, you killed the victim that day, using curare, and then in order to frame Yunosuke Naruhodo for the crime, you waited until he picked up the pistol you'd arranged for him to find on the floor, before you shot the professor's dead body in the chest with your own hidden gun. Then, in the confusion that followed, all you had to do was turn the dead professor in his chair around. You see, you had every opportunity to commit this crime.
What a wonderful imagination you have, young man. A hidden gun, you say? I shot the professor's dead body, did I? Well, I'm terribly sorry, but you don't have a shred of evidence.
Exactly! As you have nothing to support your wild claims, the prosecution's stance remains unchanged. The victim, Dr. John H. Wilson, was killed by a gunshot to the chest.
Delivered in cold blood by the accused, Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
This is unbelievable! How can this be happening? We had her! But now is she really going to get away with it? The way she destroyed that evidence was obscene. Ryunosuke. Yes? We've come this far, but now you're the only one who can finish it. What? What do you mean? We've lost a vital piece of evidence, it's true. So if there are any clues left for us to use now, they must be in your head. In my head? You told me before that your powers of observation were the one thing you could really depend on. Well, yes, that's true, but I didn't manage to notice this woman was a foreigner with a swan on her head. So think back again now. Try to remember every last detail about the scene that day. Everything you saw, everything you felt, every color, every smell. What I saw, what I felt. Every color.
Is Kazuma right? Somewhere in the vibrant memory of the same scene in my head, could there be another clue to expose the identity of Dr. Wilson's killer? There's a clue. Actually, Kazuma, I think I might have something. Back over everything I saw, I think I might have uncovered another clue. You always have something up your sleeve, don't you, Rinosuke?
Come on then, let's wipe the smug smile off that Englishwoman's face with some evidence. Alright, I can't wait.
It's been niggling me for a while, and something feels amiss in my memories of that day. Whatever it is could be the key to arriving at the truth about all this. It's here somewhere. The clue that shows who Dr. Wilson's real killer must have been is... I mean, it would be this, right?
Take that!
Inspector Hostonaga, answer me this.
Yes, what is it?
Ugh, he's still miles away. Only thinking about that bottle being smashed. As you've said a number of times now, you strive for perfection in your investigations, don't you?
Absolutely.
Wonder, therefore, if perhaps you took anything else from the scene of the crime. Like, for instance, the plate of steak that you took to the victim's table that day. Wait a minute! Where are you going with it?
Where are you going with this, little boy?
It's just a memory that's been troubling me.
What memory?
I saw the scene shown in this photographic print with my own eyes that day. And I saw that on the wooden base of the plate that the steak was served on was a spattering of blood. What?
Oh, really? And what of it? Obviously, that must have happened when you shot the professor.
No, that can't be the case. Take a good look at the photograph and the relative position of everything there. The plate of steak is almost directly behind the victim. If I'm supposed to have shot Dr. Wilson in the chest from the front, there's no way that blood from the victim could have ended up directly behind him. Ah! Yes. For blood to have made it onto the plate, it implies the plate was between the victim and the shooter. Which means the shooter must have been sitting opposite the professor as you were, Jezile Brett.
I beg your pardon?
This is beyond ridiculous. Fabricated nonsense. Is the court seriously expected to believe something the accused has apparently just remembered seeing?
This could be the moment that my entire career in the police force has been leading to. Inspector, you mean... Yes, I took the plate. In the interest of preserving evidence from the scene of the crime. I took it, mean it all. I don't care if they call me a crime scene thief because of it.
You did what?
I took the steak that you had been eating, Miss Brett. I took the steak that the sergeant had been eating. And I did it all in the name of justice. Then we can find out for sure whether or not there's a bloodstain on Miss Brett's plate. We must examine it now. Inspector? Court wishes to examine the plate from the victim's table immediately. Yes, sir! Sorry for the delay. Here's what you ordered. The steak. Well, what about the blood? Is there blood on it?
Of course there isn't.
Quickly, Inspector. The blood man. Show the court.
Of course. Examine the plate at your leisure.
There's no blood on the plate.
No. No blood. No blood anywhere. But no, that's impossible! I know I saw it. I'm sure of it. It was right there on the table behind the professor. There was blood on the side of the plate. What an unbecoming expression, little boy. You see, this is why I always say you can't trust what the Japanese can tell you.
I couldn't agree more in the case of this disgrace to the Empire.
We may finally have reached a conclusion in this trial.
Let's hope so. Such pretend attempt at a courtroom proceedings is painful to watch. But I do promise to do my best to forget about it all when it's over.
This sorry-looking steak reveals the facts all too clearly. If the sorry-looking accused wishes to examine it again, be my guest.
Was the plate I saw or thought I saw just a figment of my imagination? Oh no, let's examine. Symbol on the side of the plate. Is that a cat? It's a cow, obviously. Most likely because the restaurant's signature dish is beef steak. Seems a lot of different restaurants have their own unique tableware. So this is a symbol of La Carnival, is it? Huh? What in the world is this? I think it's a Koban coin. And the hallmark is from the Hoei area, I believe. No, I don't mean what is it. I mean, what's it doing there? Wait. Did you just say it was a Hoei Koban? Yes, and apart from the meat juices, it looks to be in good condition. I imagine it's very valuable. This isn't the first time today that there's been talk of a Hoei Koban. I've heard of pearls before swine, but I've never heard of bullion and bullion. I don't think you ever will again. This is extraordinary, though. This means... That's the wrong steak! This is it now. I've lost. Yunosuke, it's not over yet. Not until the final gavel. Never stop believing in yourself. Keep looking forward no matter what. Not believe in myself? Really? Maybe I should at least examine the evidence for myself. As the evidence requested by the defense has not been shown to be problematic in any way, I presume any further examination of evidence in this trial will be unnecessary. Does the defense have any objection? Bloodstain was going to clinch the trial for me. Can this plate of steak reveal any other clues at all? There's another clue. Your Excellency, please wait. This plate of beef is hiding another clue. Another clue that will reveal the shocking truth.
The only thing that's shocking here is your unhealthy fascination with beefsteak.
Your Excellency, I think I've made myself clear, haven't I? I will not be able to turn a blind eye to any more unnecessary procrastination in this trial.
I'm sorry, Miss Brett, but we must ensure a thorough examination of the evidence. I will not give a ruling until I'm completely satisfied that all reasonable doubt has been dispelled.
I see. As a newly affirmed ally of my country, that's still your position, is it?
Thank you, Your Excellency. Counsel for the defense, you will now clearly show the court to what you are alluding. Where precisely on this plate of beefsteak is this new clue to be found?
Under the steak.
We already saw this this dialogue, so I'm just gonna skip it. That was added a little twist that I didn't anticipate, but that's very clever. Certainly never expected to find a precious coin underneath the Sakakudo meat. It's from the Hoei era too. That'd make it really quite valuable. It's well marinated in the juices as well, look. What, are you thinking of eating it? No, but the next time I order a steak in an expensive restaurant, one thing's for sure. It's gonna be racing as I lift up the meat and peer underneath for a prize. think you may have the wrong end of the stick about this, Ryunosuke. Koban coin hidden underneath the stake. There's only one logical explanation.
Got it!
Good gracious, that's... A Koban? What on earth? A Hoei era one at that. Miss Brett, this is in fact the beefsteak that you ordered at the restaurant on the day in question, is it? Tell me, why is there an old coin seemingly hidden underneath the meat? What a ridiculous question. How should I know? I've never seen that thing before in my life. I don't know what this is, but I want no part in it. I fail to see how this is relevant. A coin under the meat. That could simply have been a careless mistake by the chef in a moment of distraction. Don't be absurd. We're supposed to believe that this happened by accident in the kitchen? Rare Hoei Koban just happens to be hidden underneath that piece of steak. This turns out to be irrelevant to the case. I rip up my ticket to Great Britain right now. He's right, it can't be a coincidence. Your Excellency. Yes, Counsel. A rare Hoei Koban just happens to be hidden underneath that piece of steak. This turns out to be irrelevant to the case. I'll give up my lawyer job right now. By all means, don't let us stop you. No one invited you anyway.
Perhaps, little boy, you should realize that it is you who is irrelevant.
Even though I'm the one on trial here. The point is, it's essential that we ask the owner of this coin if he can explain what it's doing under that stake. The owner? Yes, it's obvious there's only one person it could belong to. The owner of the Koban that was found underneath the beefsteak is... Curio Correcta. Obviously, it can only be the antiques dealer and the owner of Rasute, Curio Correcta-san. Cutie? As in Mr. Cucumber something? Honestly, these ridiculous Japanese names are quite unfathomable. Oh, they're only going to get worse. Ah, yes. The old man who testified earlier alongside the military sergeant, correct? Yes, Your Excellency. I remember him saying that he was up to something with this Koban coin when it happened. At exactly the moment the gun was fired. The gunshot interested me not. I was far too busy on the floor. Too busy on the floor? Sorry, what were you doing? Hunting for treasure. Indeed, the Hoei era Koban, my prized coin. In this Hoei era Koban, do you mean to tell me? No. Please, why would Korekata-san's Koban be sandwiched between the victim's beefsteak and its plate? It makes no sense. Which is why I'm asking to bring Korekata-san back to the witness stand so we can ask him. Officer, bring both witnesses that testified earlier back in here. Without a moment's delay. Can't believe we come back around to that pair again. I have a hunch. A strong hunch. And if we chase down the real significance of this Koban, we'll find that it's a key element in this case. That's a long witness stand. What's this all about? Why have I been called up again? Don't you realize that it's dinner time for little baby Ido? When my son's belly is empty, he's fiercer than a pack of wolves. Exploited by the police we were, like miserable dogs forced to bear false witness. When cast from this courtroom myself, I became a ruined man in a trice. A worthless, withered antique. Nothing more have I to say. The sun has set on this Rasute shop owner's existence. Be that as it may, Korekata-san, something has come to light that requires your clarification. As far as your Rasute memory serves. Ah!
That's... Yes! The knife is in his foot! That's it! The one! The very exact the one that it is! The resplendent, splendiferous Hawaii treasure that my rusty bones managed to misplace that fateful day. It can't be. As I thought. Young man! Enlighten this decrepit old fool. Put me out of my misery. Where was my treasure? Where was it dropped?
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure if it was dropped anywhere. Found your coin sandwiched between a beefsteak and its plate, soaking in the season's meat's juices.
Sandwiched? Soaking? Seriously?
Clearly, it couldn't have fallen there by accident. Which means somebody must have hidden it there on purpose.
Somebody concealed my Hawaii treasure between a slab of meat and a metal plate. Who would do such a thing? Such an unconscionable thing.
We do not know.
Excuse me, could I say something? Yes, of course. Proceed, Inspector Hosonaga. I mentioned this earlier on the trial, but I was working undercover in the restaurant in order to investigate another case.
Ah, yes, that's right. The secret undercover operation.
La Carnival is a high-class Western cuisine restaurant. It attracts wealthy diners, including many foreigners. Recently, there's been a run of similarly executed thefts targeting the restaurant's rich clientele. A number of such incidents has been reported to the police bureau. Wicked crimes indeed. We wanted to nip the case in the bud quickly, especially with so many foreigners being affected. So that's why you were sent in undercover, is it? Yes. I took on the job of waiter at the restaurant in order to flush out the criminal. It seems likely that this Koban incident is the work of the same thief. So unbeknownst to us, there was a master thief at work in the restaurant on a regular basis. The place was already the scene of several crimes, it seems. I don't know about the master thief part, but identity of the person who stole and hid the Korekta-san's Koban is all too clear.
It what? What?
I think the court would like to hear the defense's view on this matter. Tell us, who was the despicable scoundrel that stole Korekta-san's Koban and hid it under the steak? That is a really good question. Who would steal a foreigner's stuff? This seems like the most obvious answer. It's Yasanosa. But he's the regular. Or it could be Dr. Wilson, but I don't think that's right.
Take that!
Yes, Seems like a likely candidate for a Koban thief. No, come on, Ryunosuke. Huh? You shocked me, Kazuma. Not as much as you shocked me. No one could have approached the table unnoticed. Even if you're a crazy fool, you couldn't have missed that. I'm not sure you should be calling Korekata-san a crazy fool, Kazuma. It's you I was calling a crazy fool. Maybe I'm on the wrong track here. Uh-oh. I don't believe I could have heard you correctly, Counsel. Let me hear your opinion on this matter again. It has to be Wilson, right? No. Okay, well, that's a bummer. Well, poop. I have been declared guilty in the tutorial. Good start. Wow. Alright, let's pick it up from there. See if I can't figure it out. Let's go with my first instinct on it. It was my first instinct. I should have followed my first instinct. I overthought it. Obviously, it can only be you. Sergeant Yesa Nosa. Well, how dare you, you monster. Monster? I stole that Koban, did I? I'm the master thief of La Carnival, am I? You're seriously accusing me of these crimes, cadet. But it wasn't me. It was Ido. Ido was the mastermind behind all this. You would push the blame for your crimes onto your own son, an innocent little baby. It's you who's the monster, Sergeant Nosa. Okay, yeah. What the... Nippon Imperial Army, Sergeant Yesa Nosa, preparing to stand down in the Supreme Court, sir. Do any of you know of the extraordinary low wages of the Nippon Imperial Army pays those it expects to keep our country safe? I understand that the temporary increase in taxation owing to the recently ended conflicts remains in place. And I've heard it's harder for the lower-ranking soldiers to make a living, yes. All I want is to put a hot meal on the table for my son. That's why you were stealing things at the restaurant. Place is heaving with money. Every 3 days I'd go there and do reconnaissance for a target. I'd enjoy chomping my way through a good steak at the same time. Sounds like he doesn't bother with a knife and fork even, which is worryingly believable. Your target that day was the old man in his Koban. Yes, sir. He was an easy mark. I slipped the coin into my pocket without any trouble at all. Veritable phantom thief you are. I was all set to leave the steak I was halfway through devouring when it happened. Yes. And the professor was shot. Knew that if the police conducted a search and found the coin in my pocket, I'd be finished. Ido too. So I hid the incriminating evidence as fast as I could. On the double. I slipped it under the steak, hoping that I'd be able to rendezvous with it again at a later date.
This is ridiculous. Perhaps you could carry on with this absurd paddling at your own time.
Well, Miss Brett.
Oh, of course, dear lady, of course. How rude of us. Quite sure there's no need to detain you any longer at all. May the esteemed gentlewoman please be excused, your excellency.
Indeed. Theft of the Koban was clearly perpetrated by this baby-saddled sergeant. It would certainly appear to be unrelated to Dr. Wilson's murder.
Of course it is. Hiding a coin under a lump of meat. The sheer nonsense of such an idea astounds me.
Nonsense, is it?
Well...
As for picking up your steak and biting into it without using a knife and fork, it's beyond nonsense. It's pure madness.
Very well. Now that all questions concerning this witness testimony has been answered, I see no further justification for detaining her. Miss Brett, you are free to leave.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
Good luck, everyone.
And good day.
Ryunosuke, what's the matter with you? This is no time for daydreaming. Oh, no, it's just...
About Miss Brett's parting words there got me thinking.
Can't work out what exactly, but something she said jarred with me. I feel like there was a contradiction in there somewhere. Something didn't quite add up. If that's the case, don't just stand there thinking. Make your voice heard. Sorry? You think later, but if you don't call out now, it'll be too late. The trial will be over.
Hold it!
Wait! Miss Brett!
What is it now?
I'm afraid, just one last time, there's something I'd like to ask you. I'd like you to explain the contradiction in your parting words from just a few moments ago.
What are you talking about? What contradiction?
Attention!
What new student nonsense is this?
Well, what parting words are you talking about, Ryunosuke?
Hiding a coin under a lump of meat. The sheer nonsense of such an idea astounds me. As for picking up your steak and biting into it without using a knife and fork, it's beyond nonsense. It's pure madness.
Yes, I'm right. What she said there exposed an undeniable contradiction. I'm going to need to see evidence, counsel. Miss Brett's words truly are contradictory. Where's the evidence to prove it? I think it's this one?
Take that!
The photographic print of the scene taken immediately after the incident occurred. What's interesting is the plate of steak that you can see on the victim's table. The steak that Miss Brett had been eating before the professor was killed, yes. Go on. More accurately, Your Excellency. The steak that was on the victim's table just before the professor was killed.
Now you're just splitting hairs.
Not true. Doesn't something about this steak strike you as very unnatural?
Unnatural? What on earth do you mean?
It's extremely obvious. I'm talking about the shape of the edge where it's been eaten. I see you've noticed it too, Miss Brett. Noticed what exactly, counsel? Just a few minutes ago, Miss Brett claimed no Englishman could even contemplate picking up a steak and biting into it without using a knife and fork.
Of course she did. She's a refined English gentlewoman herself.
And take a good look at the steak, in particular the edge where it's been eaten. As you can see, there are clearly defined barbaric teeth marks there. Oh. Looks like Miss Brett has realized something. So, if the witness, as she claimed, wouldn't contemplate eating anything without using a knife and fork, there shouldn't be teeth marks in the steak at all.
But what is your actual point? Perhaps the delightful Miss Brett was ravenously hungry. Whatever you say, my dear lady.
As I said, I really must be leaving now. Afternoon tea with the Minister of Justice cannot possibly wait any longer.
Of course. This will be all over the blink of an eye. Rest assured, I'm about to put this rookie in his place. Just leave everything to...
I've heard enough. You irritating little spectacled samurai relic.
Of course, dear lady.
What is the matter, Miss Brett? Have we ruffled your feathers?
Clearly, the witness knows what this means. She's realized the catastrophic implications these teeth marks in the steak have for her.
Yunosuke, do you know where you're going with this?
Yes. Now at last it's all come together. The mysterious teeth marks in a steak that had allegedly been eaten with cutlery. The reason why the blood stain I know I saw somehow seems to have disappeared. Most importantly, the evidence that proves once and for all who shot Dr. Wilson that day.
I accept that these teeth marks in the steak are a little unnatural, as you put it, Counsel. What exactly are you suggesting that tells us?
Everything, Your Excellency.
Everything?
Yes. I believe that these barbaric teeth marks in the steak here amount to conclusive evidence in this case. Evidence that will prove beyond any doubt who shot Dr. Wilson. Conclusive evidence? How many times have I heard that today? You wouldn't know the meaning of the phrase. Typical Japanese empty threats.
How can you be so sure?
Oh, it's quite simple. If you really had such conclusive evidence, you would have presented it to the court long ago. Actually, the evidence I'm talking about hasn't been brought before the court yet.
What?
But just because it hasn't been shown yet, doesn't mean that the evidence does not exist.
And this is absurd. This trial has run several hours already.
4, in fact.
And you say there's evidence yet to be brought forward? There can't be. I don't believe you have it.
I don't, but there's someone who does have it. Someone in this very courtroom. If that person is willing to submit the piece of evidence I'm referring to, it will solve every remaining mystery about this case.
Very well. I have a feeling this will be my last request of the defense in this trial.
Will it, though?
Who possesses the conclusive evidence that will reveal the truth about this whole affair?
Take that!
The answer is obvious. It's Inspector Hosonaga. What? I have it. Yes. You think I've been withholding conclusive evidence? That's ridiculous. No, I'm not saying that. Everyone's attention has been focused on this steak with the teeth marks.
Yes.
Now, earlier this afternoon, Sergeant Nosa told the court the following. I'd enjoyed chomping my way through good steak. As well as admitting to stealing Korekta-san's coin, he told us he had slipped under the steak.
You watch it, cadet! I'm a superior officer.
Sergeant Nosa, could you please confirm something for me? Was the steak that you put the coin under, in fact, your own steak?
Attention! Affirmative, of course. I might be a soldier in the Imperial Nippon Army, but still. I'm not brave enough to ask a foreign gentle lady if she'd mind me manhandling her meal to hide something in it.
In other words, the steak that the detective submitted as evidence earlier was in fact Sergeant Nosa's meal.
But that makes no sense. That plate was taken from the victim's table.
Yet the gentlewoman doesn't take bites out of her steak, nor did she have any opportunity to steal the coin. Of course I didn't steal it. To even suggest such a thing would be an affront to the entire British Empire.
Well then, how do you explain this paradox?
Exactly. Surely you're not going to suggest that the sergeant switch the two stakes over. You did switch the plates?
Well, after it happened, when I saw the civilian had been murdered right in front of my eyes like that, I panicked. As I said, I immediately lifted my stake and hid the coin underneath it, but then when the waiter announced he was an undercover policeman, I thought I'd had it. If he decided to investigate my slab of meat, that'd be it. I'd be getting my marching orders. So when the cadet here was arrested and taken off to the kitchen, I seized my chance. With military precision and timing, I switched my stake with the one on the foreign lady's table.
What? You can't have... I never saw you do such a thing.
It was called Operation Lightning Bolt. There was no time for strategic planning. It was do or die, I tell you. So yes, I did what had to be done.
Unbelievable!
However, fear not, Prosecutor-san.
What now?
So on the breast buttons of my uniform, that is all I did, sir.
All you did? That's plenty, Sergeant.
So, Sergeant Nosa switched the plates over. It means he took Miss Brett's stake, and the plate it was on, back to his own table. Yes, that follows. Inspector Hosonaga. Yes. Earlier in this trial, you told the court this. You said that you had not only taken Miss Brett's stake after the incident, but also the sergeant's. That to preserve evidence, you had taken both.
Ah!
That's correct. Then please present it to court now. The plate that was actually on the victim's table at the precise moment he was shot.
What could that possibly tell us now? I mean, a cold slab of tough meat. It can't have the slightest bearing on this case.
No, you're not wriggling out of it this time, lady.
I beg your pardon.
Surely you're not that forgetful. Surely you remember the reason why the steak pan promises to prove such a problem for you, no?
You're the ones who decided it was a problem, not me.
The reason the defense asked to see that plate was to confirm something the defendant remembers seeing.
Thinks he remembers?
I'm quite sure of what I saw, Miss Brett. On the side of the plate that was on the table directly behind Mr. Wilson, there was a clear spattering of blood from the gunshot wound to the victim's chest. I believe the defendant's memory serves him well. Now we have the evidence to prove it. The plate you were eating from, Miss Brett. Let us not prolong this any further. Inspector, you will show the evidence to the court. Present the beefsteak and plate that was originally on the victim's table at the time of the incident. Yes, sir. Sorry for keeping you. Here's the other steak in its plate. Please, feel free to examine it. There it is. The blood stain. It's clearly visible, look! Now this makes everything clear. The blood you can see on the side of the plate shows that the moment the victim was shot, he was facing the table with his back to me. In other words, it's impossible for Naruhodo-san to have shot the victim.
It can't be.
In fact, there's only one person who could possibly have shot Dr. Wilson from the front. I'm sure everyone knows by now who that person is. That's right. Miss Jezzel Brett. It's you.
Done by a Japanese. Me. A Japanese schoolboy. No, no, no.
The chick's coming out of the hat. Oh. They're so cute. I love it.
Please excuse my little outburst. I briefly lost my composure. Most unbecoming behavior for an English gentlewoman. Forgive me.
Well, Miss Brett, I think it's time you told the court what actually happened that day. The truth this time.
Gladly, Your Excellency. It was I who took the professor's life, using curare. As you surmised, I chose that particular day for one very important reason. The professor had a dental appointment for the extraction of one of his teeth in the morning.
So you planned to kill the professor, knowing that no trace of poison would be found in his water, because curare is unheard of here in Japan.
Yes. Of course, I never intended to remain at the restaurant for as long as I did. I only needed to see the professor take one tiny sip of his water, and it would all be over. I placed the steak I had ordered in front of him to make it appear as though he had been dining alone, and leave immediately. However, before any of that happened, there was an unexpected visitor at the professor's table.
That would be me, I suppose.
Yes, you. Who else? Such a trifling matter, but the fact that you had decided to come over to greet the professor meant that I had lost my chance to slip away unnoticed. In due course, the professor took a sip of his water and post-paralyzed. I made sure he was sitting in his chair such that he wouldn't fall. There was no going back at that point, so I concocted a plan on the spur of the moment.
Plan to pin Dr. Wilson's murder on this innocent man.
I happened to know that the professor always carried a gun. I decided to use that fact to my advantage. I had the bottle of curare in my handbag, and my own pistol concealed under my skirt.
Under your skirt?
So I was right. There were two guns. Yes.
And I finished my coffee and got up to leave. That's when I noticed the professor's gun, which you would presume would be placed on the floor. Place where you were sure I would notice it.
And everything went according to plan. You noticed the gun as I'd intended. And then just as you bent down to pick it up,
that's when you shot the professor with your own gun. Even though at that point he was already dead.
Naturally, the gunshot caused a commotion, at which point the waiter appeared.
Obviously, I'd assumed Naruhodo-san was the culprit and apprehended him. I took him to the pantry that adjoins the kitchen and locked him inside.
That's when I took the opportunity to turn the professor in his chair around.
Because, of course, you needed to make it look like the defendant had shot Dr. Wilson from where he'd picked up the gun.
So there you have it. That is the entirety of my misdemeanor. Your Excellency.
Yes.
I wonder. Might I speak with you in private later?
I shall call on you.
Thank you. Good day then, everyone. I hope you can forgive me, Naruhodo-san.
It would seem this trial has finally run its course. I presume the prosecution is in agreement.
This can't be. Takatsuchi Aochi does not lose. Not to the likes of this rookie student.
You better start getting used to tough opposition. Ah! Ryunosuke Naruhodo?
What, yes? This insult to the Aochi family name will never be forgotten.
You've become conceited with age, Counsel. The old have to stand aside and make way for the new. It's the way of the world. May you never forget that. A 1,000 millennia may pass, and still the Aochi clan will never measure up to the Naruhodo clan. That's good. That's very good. This trial in the Supreme Court of Japan will, I believe, go down in history as the start of a new chapter in our country's judicial system. Despite being summoned as the accused, you, Ryunosuke Naruhodo, presented an excellent case.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
Use of evidence and deduction to unravel the truth is a modern methodology. After all, it has only been a few short decades since our country opened its doors to the wider world, but the Western ideas of science are rapidly gaining acceptance here. I feel sure that science will soon bring new methods of investigation and new procedures of justice. A new future of law awaits, but what will it look like I cannot begin to imagine. That is for the young to pursue. Kazuma Asugi.
Yes.
After this trial, you are set to embark on a journey of discovery to the illustrious British Empire. Learn all you can, absorb everything of the wider world that you are able to. And do not forget to fulfill the mission imposed upon you. I understand, Your Excellency.
What was that about? Why do you look so grave all of a sudden?
Never mind. As for you, Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Oh, yes.
In you, I sense, how can I put it, unusual potential. I very much look forward to seeing how you carry that onwards.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
It is time to deliver the final verdict. I hereby find the defendant, Ryunosuke Naruhodo, not guilty.
Yay!
Oh, they're cherry blossoms instead of confetti. That's cool. This court is now adjourned. We did the thing! It only took 4.5 hours of gameplay.
I can't believe it. Can't believe what's happened. I made it. I defended myself and made it through that horrendous trial.
Ryunosuke, finally pulled it off. Congratulations.
Well, I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you, Kazuma.
No, it was a pleasure to watch you at work. So you owe me an extra large sukiyaki from the place on Yume University Street. Don't forget.
Good afternoon. All your hard work has certainly paid off. Congratulations to both of you for proving Naruhodo-san's innocence.
Our trusty judicial assistant. You retired for that result too, you know.
Oh, no, I didn't do anything. Thank you so much. If we hadn't had that research report of Miss Brett's, I don't know how things could have turned out. Your kind words should really be for my father. I was simply doing as he asked. It was his idea for me to go to the university and investigate.
Your father? Ah, yes, of course.
Forgive me for intruding on court proceedings, Your Excellency. Susato Mikotoba, Judicial Assistant to the Defense. Speaking of Mikotoba... Ah, there you are. I believe congratulations are in order. Naruhodo, you did an excellent job.
Thank you, Professor.
Oh no, it is I who should be thanking you, after all. Your efforts exposed the true criminal that took the life of my good friend.
Good friend? Oh yes, you mentioned that before. It was you who actually invited Dr. Wilson to Yume University, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Professor Mikotoba studied overseas himself. He went to study forensic medicine in Great Britain. Presumably that's when you met Dr. Wilson.
Exactly. Those days we worked together in the same hospital.
Oh, you worked together? I never heard you mention that before.
Well, it was a long time ago now. Besides, it is your turn, Asugi. Great Britain is a magnificent country. It leads the world. In science, medicine, engineering, culture, and of course in law. Watch and learn, my boy. See what's happening in the world's largest melting pot.
I will. I'll learn all that I can. I swear on this, the spirits of the Asugi clan. You're not taking that sword to Great Britain, are you? Of course I am. Japanese man katana is his soul. This blade shows me where I need to go. It cuts down anything that's in my way. Yes, I've definitely seen how sharp it is already with my own eyes. That reminds me, what's happened to the woman? To Jezal Brett, I mean. After all, she's guilty of murder. Ah, yes, her. It's not easy to tell you this, but what do you mean? Surely she's gonna face trial herself now. She's a true culprit after all. She will be leaving Japan in the very near future for Shanghai. What? Shanghai? Jezal Brett will not appear in court again in this country, I'm certain of that. What? But why not? It's a matter of consular jurisdiction. Inspector Hosonaga. It was a hard-fought battle in the courtroom today. Very impressive to watch. I must congratulate... But what is all this about consular jurisdiction? We cannot try this particular foreigner for her crimes here in Japan. What? We can't try her? But then who's gonna bring her to justice? British Consular Court will hear her case, somewhere very far away where our voices can't be heard. But why a consular court? Professor, I simply don't understand. Thought consular courts were a thing of the past now that we've signed the friendship treaty. Yes, in normal circumstances, you're right. Then so long that this is not a serious incident of a highly political nature to our respective governments. They can't invoke a consular court just like that. Oh, can't they? Yes. She's a student, but it doesn't justify our governments making secret agreements about her fate, does it? Something strange is going on. So Miss Brett can't be held accountable for her actions here in Japan. I'm afraid that for the young student, today's trial was nothing more than a game all along. There was never any danger of comeuppance for her. I don't believe it. British government's Foreign Affairs Ministry is demanding that we hand over custody of Miss Brett. They're obviously taking this case of a foreign exchange student committing murder very seriously. It's all going to change from now on. We can make a change. This is a time of great turmoil, this new era heralded by the start of the 20th century. One day, I have no doubt, that woman will receive the judgment she deserves. Yes, change is coming. We're the ones driving it. Well, I think that's enough seriousness for now. The evening calls for a celebratory drink. But, Professor, you're right. There's no time for gloomy faces. We should be celebrating Ryunosuke's not guilty verdict. Let's start having some fun.
In that case, might I suggest La Carnival? As a head waiter, I should be delighted to provide you with ample food and drink.
You're a detective, Hosonaga-san, aren't you?
Let's not worry about details for now. To La Carnival. Will you accompany us, Professor? Of course. La Carnival's food is second to none. I shall go and attend to the paperwork for Naruhodo-san's release. Oh, yes, thank you. So Giselle Brett won't be tried here. I suppose that means I'll never know. I'll never find out why she killed Dr. Wilson. Hey, Kazuma. Yes, Ryunosuke. I just wanted to say thanks again, that's all. You really saved my skin today. I didn't do a thing. You were the lawyer in there, weren't you? That defense was all your work. Your skills made the difference, though. One day I bet you'll be the best lawyer in the world. I'm not so sure about that. To be honest, something kept occurring to me over and over again during that trial. I couldn't help thinking that maybe you're the one destined to become a great lawyer, not me.
What? Come on, be serious.
If I helped you today, it was only right at the very start of the trial, but you have a natural talent for it. For being a defense lawyer, I mean.
Oh no, not me. All that tense verbal combat? I never want to go through that ever again. I did what you told me to do, that's all, because I knew I could trust you.
That's the point.
Sorry? What do you mean that's the point?
Listen, Ryunosuke. Do you know what the most crucial weapon is that any lawyer needs in order to win?
Knowledge of the law?
No. The ability to believe.
To believe?
To believe what? A defense lawyer has to fight for his clients. He has to believe in them at all times.
Like you believed in me when I said I didn't do it.
I'm human, just like you. I don't have some superhuman ability to know the truth. You have to make a choice about what to believe in and stick to it when you're defending someone. Sometimes in the courtroom you can be really backed into a corner. But being able to remain faithful to what you chose to believe in, even then, well, that's not something that anyone can do. It takes a special kind of person. Believing in your client. Let's look at today's trial. I'm a student lawyer with very precious little real experience, but you never stopped believing in me.
Well,
You face seemingly hopeless situations time and again, but you never stopped looking for the truth. And in the end, you found it through your own efforts, because you never stopped believing in me. Thanks, Kazuma. Something I want to ask you, actually, Ryunosuke. Oh, it's a favor, really. Something very important to me. That sounds serious. What is... Ah, you're still here, are you? Oh, Inspector Hosonaga. I've arranged some rickshaws for us. Let's go. Thank you. We'll be right there. Pick up this conversation again later. We should be celebrating right now. Your first court victory.
And your study tour to Great Britain, don't forget.
Yes, that too. So my very first trial came to an end. Kazuma, Professor Migatoba, Susato-san, who acted as my assistant, Inspector Hosonaga. They didn't really play much of a part, but still. It was because of the help and support of all these people that I managed to get through that trial. But more importantly, Kazuma hadn't yet managed to ask his favor of me. Little did I realize just how much it would change my life.
And
holy cow. I liked
So I like that case for two reasons. The first was it definitely set the tone for what this game is going to be. For people that are new to this franchise, that's a actually great starting point. But for people who have played these games before, played the Ace Attorney series, there were so many little things that poked at different things. I was surprised that the flower vase never came into play, but there's always a red herring in there somewhere. But anyway, obviously, Prosecutor Ouchie was a big nod to the original games. But there were particular details about that case that had showed up in past games as well. Looking at the back of the business card has shown up in multiple cases, arguably, but one of the cases in the original trilogy hinges on looking at the back of something like that. So that was a neat little nod to that. There was also trying to think what else was there. Kazuma's comment at the end that the Aochi clan would never measure up to the Naruhodo clan even in a millennium. The first trial in the original Ace Attorney was Phoenix Wright, who is a descendant of Ryunosuke Naruhodo, versus Winston Payne, whose Japanese name includes the last name Ouchie. Let me actually find out what his name is. Winston Payne is known as Takefumi Ouchi in Japanese. So, yeah. So, very, very clever little jab there. I like that a lot. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and save here. And then, who's that? Who's that shadow there? Oh, that looks weird. I'm going to go ahead and pause so I can get something to drink because my throat is going to kill me. So give me just a few minutes for me to get something to drink, and I will be right back. Alright, I'm back. I got me some water and a little bit of tea as well, because I need the caffeine. Okay. The Adventure of the Unbreakable Speckled Band.
In a corner of that small, dark room, Sholmes and I waited with bated breath. In time, there came from the ventilator a hiss and a soft, almost growl-like sound. Suddenly, Sholmes sprang into action, lashing furiously with his cane at a point in the darkness. "You see it, Wilson?" he yelled, his tense voice reverberating through the air. I raised my dark lantern's shutter, and the room slowly came into view. Sholmes was staring intently at one particular corner when he started whispering to me. The victim's most perplexing final words. The speckled band. I believe this is the terrible coil to which you referred, Wilson. In front of us was an enormous adder, its fangs bared as it threatened to strike. It truly was the most terrible speckled band I had ever seen.
Sholmes and Wilson.
So then, let us unravel this mystery and discover what events led to this curious murder. Pray, do excuse me. The cabin door was bolted from the inside when the man was killed. No marks to suggest the bolt was tampered with in any way. So, this would appear to be a locked room mystery. In his final moments, the victim scrawled a message on the floor. Almost certainly with the ink from this upset bottle. A Russian word. So the victim was a Russian man then. And the letters are well formed, suggesting he was compos mentis at the time. This is a most extraordinary script. And evidently not penned by the same hand as this message. In fact, I deduce it was written by someone of a different nationality. This paper seal was placed just prior to the incident, by the victim himself, I would venture. Well, what have we here?
Who are you, and what do you think you're doing here?
No one must touch before maritime police come. We must wait.
Shh. That won't be necessary. You see, in less than 5 seconds from now, I will reveal the killer to you.
What? Don't be absurd. This is murder. I need cabin locked from inside.
Ah yes, the locked room. But that mystery is paper thin.
You don't mean the culprit is in there?
Who are you, and where have you come from?
I'm a great British consultant detective, the only one in the world. Sherlock Sholmes. I presume you must have heard of me.
Sherlock Sholmes. So, I don't know if this is actually the case, but there are some people who believe that that character specifically is part of the reason that it took so long to get these games into English. I don't know if that's actually the case, but who knows? But yes, Sherlock Sholmes. I will undoubtedly call him Sherlock about 50 times during this playthrough, so don't be alarmed. Also, notice Dr. Wilson. I'm sure that'll be of no importance whatsoever. Okay. Oh, my head is throbbing. What's going on? It's not right here. There's trouble in the air. Wait. I can't move. What the? Why am I in handcuffs? So you wake up now, I had to drag you out of the wardrobe. Do not believe how you could not wake up. You are too cold-blooded, man. You found me then. We found you. And now you pay, criminal. How long are you hiding in that tiny wardrobe, sorry. Now you have been found. It is time to admit your crimes. Unless you want to find out how cold the ocean is, No, I'll tell you everything.
There's only one thing I would like to know from you. Why did you do it? Why did you take his life? Miss Susato.
Wait, what did you just say?
Take his life? Where is he? Where's Kazuma?
Ha! You pretend you do not know. You are a wolf in the sheep's pelt. You are the killer. Do not try to make excuses.
What? Kazuma-sama's body was discovered not long ago. Here, in this very cabin that was bolted shut from the inside. His body?
Please, do not try to tell us you were doing this terrible thing in your sleep.
Kazuma's dead? But he can't be. And these handcuffs. Surely you don't think I have to know. Why did you take Kazuma-sama's life? Answer me, please. No. No!
Sorry.
Kazuma. It was just 2 short weeks ago.
Are you sure about this? Will we get in trouble? Don't you find it fun being a stowaway? Besides, how else could you come to England with me to study?
It's really something else when they brought your luggage in here earlier, though.
Why that Russian crewman just tossed your traveling case onto the floor? I thought I was gonna die.
Yeah. Yes, I still can't quite believe that.
Really didn't think you'd be able to fit inside my trunk. Must be even less of a man than you look. Hey! Honestly, I thought I'd broken every bone in my body. Well, it's about 50 days until we dock in Great Britain. What if you confine yourself to my cabin here? I don't expect anyone will discover you. I hope not. I have a feeling those Russians wouldn't be very forgiving of a stowaway. They're a sturdy bunch, that's for sure. What I want to know is, why do we need to keep it a secret from the young lady? From our faithful judicial assistant Mikotoba, you mean? From your close friend, more to the point. Surely we could confide in her, couldn't we? I don't believe she'd give me away. No, but if she knew what we'd done, that would make her guilty by association. It's best that only you and I know about this. I suppose so. Anyway, it's about time that the steward is supposed to come and clean the cabin. I know it's cramped, but you better get in there, I think. It won't be for long. And anyway, you're into hiding inside my travel case, it'll be a breeze. Yes. What if the steward decides to open up the wardrobe for some reason? Then I'll be in for it. Stop worrying. Tell you what, why don't you write keep out or something on this piece of paper? What? I can stick it over the wardrobe doors once you're inside. Oh no. I've only been at sea for about 15 days. How can this have happened? We're supposed to be going on this adventure to England together. We leave you at next port. Stay quiet until then. Don't make more trouble for yourself. Murderer.
No, I'm not a murderer.
Duh. You said before. You said you admit everything about your crimes.
No, that's not right. I mean, yes, I did stow away on the ship, but murdering my best friend?
No one else could have done it. Admit the truth.
Susato-san. Please, tell me what happened. I need to know. Very well. But there is something I would like to ask of you too. Oh, those eyes. She looks like she's ready to destroy me. This nightmare is getting worse by the minute. I suppose all I can do is try to find out what really happened. He really has been killed, hasn't he? This isn't just a bad dream. These handcuffs. They think I did it? They think I'm Kazuma's killer? When they found him, the cabin was locked from the inside. What do you mean? There's no access to the cabin via a porthole window, and the bolt on the door can't be operated from outside. In other words, after the crime, the culprit couldn't have escaped these four walls. What? Or to put it another way, the culprits can only have been somebody inside this cabin. Or do you have some other explanation? Oh, this is impossible. How did he die then? What happened exactly? Are you still going to deny the charge, even despite the circumstances? Please, Susato-san, you have to tell me. The cause of death is still undetermined. They don't know how he died? The ship's doctor is examining the body, but of course he has no post-mortem analysis experience. I don't suppose we shall learn more until an expert has been consulted at our next port of call. So presumably that means there were no obvious external signs of injury then. That's true, yes. Can't anyone tell me what actually happened here in this cabin? I don't understand it. Why would anyone want to kill Kazuma? Presumably, that's something you know the answer to better than anyone else. Please. Whatever you say, you were here in the cabin after all. Well, yes, I was, but... He would always wake before dawn and do his training first thing in the morning. I was waiting outside his cabin as I have every day so far on this voyage. But this morning, he did not come. I could sense that he wouldn't. Does that mean he was already dead when Susato-san arrived at his cabin door, I wonder? I knocked, but there was no reply. Then I started to become worried, so I went to find a member of the crew. The crewman forced the cabin door open and we managed to get inside. There was Kazuma-sama, collapsed on the floor. The white tape there now shows exactly where he was found, I suppose. I had no idea anything had happened. I must have been asleep in the wardrobe somehow. I wish it wasn't the case, but that's just very hard to believe. This is all very hard to believe for me too, trust me. Now I've told you everything that I know, so it's my turn to ask you a question. Yes, alright. My head feels so heavy. Still throbbing like anything. Why are you even on board this ship, Naruhodo-san? You said something before about being a stowaway, didn't you? Oh, yes. I'm afraid that's true.
It's 2 weeks since we left Japan now, and I've been shut up in this cabin this entire time. I had no idea. But how could you have How could you have occupied Kazuma Sama's cabin? The ADD is leaking out. But how could you have occupied Kazuma-sama's cabin for so long without him noticing? No. That would have been impossible. Obviously. Yes. Of course. Kazuma invited me. He wanted us to go to England together. He actually asked you. But why? I'm afraid I don't really know the reason myself. I don't understand. Kazuma, why do you want this? What's the real reason? Why go to such extreme lengths to smuggle me to England with you? It's an idea that's been on my mind ever since the end of that incredible trial. I think I told you then, didn't I? That you ought to become a lawyer yourself? Well, yes, you did say that, but I didn't think you were serious. You have a talent for it. I can assure you of that. But I've never really thought about becoming a lawyer. Well, that's something you can decide for yourself. London is at the spearhead of cultural development. Center of the world in many ways. There can't be any harm in seeing such an important place with your own eyes, can there? Well, no, definitely not. But on a personal level, if you were to become a lawyer, then what? Nothing. Forget it. Kazuma-sama is... He was always saying the same thing. That he wanted to change the Japanese legal system. Perhaps he thought that he could do that with you. Yes, maybe. But something's still bothering me a little. The look in his eyes then. It's darker than I've ever seen it before. Susato-san. I'm sorry that we kept it a secret from you. My stowing away on the ship, I mean. If I know Kazuma-sama, I expect he was trying to protect me. To avoid me becoming guilty by association. That's exactly right, yes. Word perfect, in fact. If you're not the culprit, then tell me, what happened last night here in this cabin? Well, the thing is, I don't really remember. Kazuma brought me something to eat, just like he always did. And I got myself into that wardrobe over there, just like I always did. After that, I fell asleep. Well, yes. So deeply that you didn't even stir when Kazuma-sama was killed. Well, yes. I know it sounds unbelievable, really. I do, but it's the truth. If only I'd woken up, then perhaps I wouldn't be in this predicament. For some reason, my head's still throbbing like anything. Really. Is something wrong? Oh, no, it's... Please, forget it. Susato-san, you have to believe me. I didn't do it. I really don't want to doubt you, but the trouble is... There is no one else who could possibly have done this. Kazuma, I don't understand. Why? Why did this have to happen? I can't take this.
Don't try to go anywhere. You're the perpetrator of this crime. You can't leave. I can't allow this to happen. I'm sorry, but Kazuma's killed right under my nose here, and I didn't do anything to stop it, and now I'm supposed to just sit around, my hands tied, while whoever did this walks free? No, I can't allow that to happen. Well, what do you propose to do then? I'm going to investigate. I'm going to find out exactly what happened here. I'm going to work out who took Kazuma-san's life and how and why they did it. So I'm sorry, but you're going to have to excuse me. Hi-ya!
And she just knocked him over the head. What the?
That was a Susato takedown.
Susato what? What martial art form is that?
I'm going to need you to prove it.
Sorry? Prove it?
Yes, you're innocent. I need evidence. But how am I supposed to... Have you forgotten already what you achieved just a few weeks ago? You successfully defended yourself in a court of law.
Ah, I see. She's expecting me to present some conclusive evidence. I have to get Susato-san to believe me. I'll show her some evidence right now that proves I'm not guilty of this awful crime.
Yes!
Tell me, when I was discovered in the wardrobe before, was this piece of paper stuck over the doors?
Oh, yes, it was. I remember clearly.
I thought so. Kazuma always put it in place whenever I went to sleep in there, just in case the cabin steward or another crew member decided to look inside. So naturally, he did the last night as well.
Ah, yes, of course. The gentleman who discovered you peeled that sign from the wardrobe's doors before he opened them.
But if I were truly the culprit, I couldn't have climbed back inside the wardrobe and stuck this on the outside of the doors on my own.
Yes, that's quite true.
In other words, it's impossible that I killed Kazuma.
Well, even if you are sprawled hopelessly on the floor, I can see why Kazuma-sama thought so highly of you.
Thank you, Susato-san.
Now, do you think perhaps you could help me up? Well, in the light of that evidence, I don't see any reason why I should stop you from investigating in here at least.
Thank you. So you finally believe me?
I'm sorry. No.
What?
I'm not sure yet. I can't rule out the possibility that you use some sort of conjuring trick to put the sign back in position.
What does she think I am, a magician?
For now, I suggest you investigate as thoroughly as possible in here. I'll do the same.
Alright. Let's get to work, Susato-san.
Please don't misunderstand me. I still have my doubts.
Oh.
I shall be watching you to make sure you do nothing that might disturb the crime scene. I wouldn't want you using your conjuring tricks to destroy evidence, for example.
Right. Well, anyway, I should make a start on investigating in here. Examine everything I can. Kazuma, I swear, I will avenge your death. Alright, first off, she is the epitome of a refined Japanese lady that just threw me on the fucking floor. Anyway, let us examine here. Hey, buddy. How's it going? I'm trying to see what this Russian crewman makes of the scene of the crime. Excuse me. What? I was wondering how it's going. The investigation, I mean. Grandmother told me Japanese people do not make jokes. But it's not true, I see. Sorry? The criminal asking investigator for information about his crime. Very funny. Oh, it wasn't supposed to be a joke.
He doesn't appear to be laughing either. He's convinced you're guilty.
Might has useful information, though. I have to keep trying. So last night, did you notice anything out of the ordinary at all? Yet. Of course not. Now back to corner of room and make silent. I say no more to you. Did I hit a nerve? Just for a minute there, he seemed a little flustered.
Oh dear, that won't do.
Oh, what's the matter, Susato-san?
Whenever I'm examining things, I always find myself so focused I forget to look around properly.
Yeah, that's not good.
I don't suppose you're as foolish as me in that regard, are you, Naruhodo-san?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you're careful to look all around, aren't you? Now let's investigate all corners of this cabin.
Yes, let's do that. Suppose my field of vision has been rather small until now. I am so glad this cursor changes shape during investigations. You have no idea how big of a goddamn deal this is. It's amazing. Okay.
That's Kazuma-sama's precious sword. He never went anywhere without it.
Yeah, he was always saying that a Japanese man katana is his soul.
I believe he had to work very hard to convince the government to allow him to bring it on his trip.
I suppose that's just how important it was to him.
Now he's gone.
I'm not ready to let his spirit go just yet. That's my dinner from last night. Roast chicken. It was really tasty.
Yes, it was very delicious, wasn't it? But did you eat it on the floor here?
I'm not a dog, Susato-san. I ate at the table, of course. Which begs the question. When and how the plate ended up on the floor.
But Kazuma-san didn't like chicken at all, did he?
No, that's right. So he didn't touch it. And all the more for me.
Oh no! Does that mean... Poor Kazuma-sama spent his last night on this earth with an empty belly? It's just too horrible.
Oh, now I suddenly have a guilty conscience and an achy stomach. Oh, no. I thought the knife was separate and it wasn't. I should have noticed the check mark. There we go.
There's nothing on this table at all. The plate and cutlery are all over the floor for some reason.
Yes, it's strange. Last night when I went to sleep, I'm sure everything was still... No, wait a minute.
What is it?
That's funny. I can't seem to remember anything about what happened after dinner at all.
So then perhaps you are responsible for what happened to Kazuma-sama.
No. She is going to kill me.
Seigi.
The Japanese word for justice. The brushstrokes are straight and true, just like Kazuma.
Yes, his calligraphy was always a reflection of his heart. Yet can you really look at those characters without feeling shame knowing who drew them so thoughtfully?
Of course I can. I mean, I'm innocent, so why shouldn't I be able to?
Even though you stowed away on this ship.
Now you're gonna bring that up, are you? I can't win. These are the rules of passage for travel aboard the SS Buria.
It's essentially a list of requests from the cabin to all passengers on board.
Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. What? Why are you staring at me?
Oh, sorry. I was just thinking. Are you more of a dangerous object or a pet? I can't decide.
Well, one thing's for sure. Either way, I wasn't supposed to be in here. Oh, the door. Yeah, that makes sense.
When I went for help and the crewman forced the door open, this bolt had been firmly closed.
It's quite a small bolt and not particularly sturdy. It just slides across to secure the door shut, but still, with the door bolted, there would be no way to get in or out of the cabin, that's for sure. It's no wonder everyone suspects me. When she glares at me like that, I feel tense all up and down my spine. I remember reading once in a detective novel that culprit used a needle and thread to draw bolts across from outside the room in a situation like this.
Yes, that's a clever trick, isn't it? I'm an avid reader of detective stories myself. But the door of this cabin and its frame are made of metal, and they seal together perfectly. There would be no possibility of using that needle and thread trick here, I'm afraid.
And she glares at me like that. I feel pins and needles all up and down my spine. Alright, I think we've got all that side. Nothing on the lamp. Okay, books. The books have all fallen over on the shelf. Look, they're all toppled the same way.
What's this? A statue of some god of the sea. Although he's fallen over as well.
Yeah, it's almost as if the whole shelf has been ransacked and everything mown down all at once.
I wonder if perhaps it was Kazuma-sama's doing his morning sword training, do you think?
I seriously doubt it.
Then perhaps it was you, Naruhodo-san, in a fit of rage?
I wouldn't have bothered leaving the wardrobe just to mess up a few books and a statue.
The way these things have been thrown about have anything to do with the case, I wonder? Well, I'll just set everything straight again. I don't like to see a mess.
Okay. The box.
That's a very large traveling case, isn't it?
Yeah, it carries a lot of memories for me.
Memories? What do you mean?
Well, that's actually how I stowed away on this vessel. I was brought on board inside that case.
Ah, yes. I see it says this way up in Japanese.
Which in hindsight, I should have realized a foreign crewman wouldn't be able to read. I was turned over and over and over. I was tossed on the floor in here.
Oh dear. Being a stowaway isn't as romantic as it sounds.
Well, it was less painful than a Susato takedown.
This is where dear Kazuma-sama would have sat whenever he was writing.
London Diary. Poor Kazuma. He didn't even make it to his destination.
It looks as though the last entry is incomplete.
Which means, what? He was in the middle of writing it when the incident happened? Let's see what it says. Could be a valuable clue. Oh!
That's out of the question.
What?
Kazuma-sama may have departed this world, but you must not read his private thoughts.
But what if it's something important? Something relevant to the case? Alright. Alright. I won't read it.
Poor Kazuma-sama.
I don't like prying into people's personal matters either, but in this case, isn't the need for clues more important? Alright, yeah, we're all done with everything on that side of the room, so let's focus on this stuff here.
It's some 2 weeks since we set sail from Japan. Have you really been living in that wardrobe the entire time, Naruhodo-san? I think living isn't quite the right description. Oh, no, I suppose not. Although it must have been rather exciting making this voyage in your own secret hideout. The trouble was I never knew when a member of the crew might come in, so yes, I did basically have to live in the wardrobe. Last night was no exception. But because of that, you had no idea what was happening out here in the cabin. No, sadly not. Oh. This is... yes, it's a bell cord contraption, I think. What do you mean, contraption? I read about it in a book I was studying that talked about life in Great Britain. Large households often have bell cords like this, which you can pull to ring a bell to summon servants. Really? That sounds almost magical.
Shall we give it a little try?
Yes! In the interest of cultural research, obviously. I suppose nobody comes for lowly Japanese people. No, I'm sure it's just that everyone is busy, that's all.
Sadly, you're probably not wrong. Okay. Now let's get to the important stuff at hand. The body tape. What's over here?
What do you think this is? Looks like a broken piece of glassware. Whatever the thing was, it seems to have been... it appears to have broken clean in two. The glass is such a beautiful color. Looks like a cute little Netsuke fastener from a kimono outfit. I'm not sure that sounds like Kazuma. He wouldn't have secretly carried a cute little trinket like this around with him, would he? And the mark beside it. What is it, I wonder? Has a sort of brick-like hue. Yeah, you're right. It is the color of brick, isn't it? No, I don't see anything of the same color anywhere else in the cabin.
The ink bottle isn't investigatable? Okay.
Did Kazuma write that before he died? Looks like it's written in ink. He must have knocked the ink pot from the desk when he collapsed on the floor. Then I suppose he wrote this message by dipping his finger in the slip of village. Poor Kazuma-sama. No wonder he was in terrible pain. Or no doubt he was in terrible pain. It's almost unbearable to imagine it.
I suppose he was trying to leave some kind of a clue in his final moments, was he?
Sorry, partner, but I can't read your writing. I don't think that's Japanese, Naruhodo-san.
What? Then what language is it?
It pains me to admit it, but I don't know.
It's not a foreign script I'm familiar with. What does it mean, I wonder?
Oh. I think that's some kind of opening for a ventilator. A hole through which fresh air can circulate into the cabin.
Not a lot.
What do you mean?
Well, this ventilator, if that's what it is,
looks like it must connect to the next door cabin. Yes, it would appear to. You're right.
But if its purpose is to allow fresh air into the room, surely it should be connected to the outside.
That's true. Perhaps it's so rain and spray don't find their way in when the seas are rough or something like that.
I suppose. Maybe that's it. Sholmes, what the hell are you doing? As far as I can tell, it looked like he might be a European.
Oh, how did he...
You've noticed the man too, have you? I've no idea who he is or how he got in here, but he looks suspicious. And tall. Suspiciously tall.
Naruhodo-san, don't tell me. Do you really not know who that is?
Well, no, I don't have any foreign friends or acquaintances at all. Doesn't look like a member of the crew. Something very unusual about him. Is he investigating Kazuma's desk, or is he just playing on it? I can't tell.
Well, in that case, we simply must talk with him.
Am I just imagining it, or does Susato-san look almost uncontrollably excited?
By the way, I expect that you've noticed already, but just in case.
Yep. You can converse with them. Alright, then I'll get that suspiciously tall gentleman in my sights and see what he has to say for himself.
Oh, please do.
Ooh. Oh, it's got a number on it. Neat. Wait.
You drew the characters for this paper seal, didn't you, Naruhodo-san? They're such bold, vivid strokes you've made.
You're looking at a man who came aboard inside a trunk. Those brush strokes needed to make a statement. They'd found me in that wardrobe. Those Russians would have hurled me into the freezing cold ocean.
I'm sure none of the crewmen would have done anything like that.
Well, I'm not so sure.
They would have forced you to wash dishes in the galley until you were on death's door or something like that.
Wash dishes until I was on death's door. That's a lot of dishes. Alright. Sholmes, what the hell are you doing?
Excuse me.
Excuse me, do you have a moment?
Shh! This is a critical point in my investigation. Maybe I should leave him alone. Seems a little unfriendly. Yes, perhaps that would be for the best. Greetings! I hope I haven't kept you long.
What exactly were you doing on Kazuma's desk just now?
Ah, I see. Fascinating.
Sorry? What do you see?
I feel like he's looking right through me. Oh yes, everything is clear now.
The train of reasoning has run its course. My deductions have crystallized. You have been in Afghanistan, I perceive. Just recently returned, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry? What? And now, whilst venturing toward foreign climes, you find yourself in a most troubling predicament. Oh, well, that's true at least.
But how...
How the deuce did I know that, perhaps? It was really a most elementary deduction, hardly worth explaining.
Have you perhaps managed to deduce anything else?
But of course, a great many things. There's no mystery, my dear madam. For example, you fled your native land of Russia, being as you are, a merciless revolutionary. You leave 16 victims of assassination in your wake, and now travel to England to blow up the Crystal Tower. And when the Barabond occupant of this very cabin discovered your identity, you ended his life too. Yes, I believe that summarizes these facts beautifully. No need to hide the truth now. Nothing deceives these eyes. Just to be clear, you are talking about me, are you? Certainly I am. Do you see another in this cabin who fits the bill? A Russian assassin with 16 victims to his name. I don't even see one person who fits the bill.
So it's true. It was you who did this to Kazuma-sama.
What?
And you're plotting a revolution, too. It's shameful behavior, Naruhodo-san. Absolutely wicked.
No. Listen, there's no way I'll... Yep, there she goes.
Now explain yourself. Tell me everything.
Oh, this is ridiculous.
How could you do it?
For pity's sake, open your eyes. I'm not a Russian revolutionary, obviously.
Oh, forgive me.
And as for you, what kind of deduction was that? You were just saying the first thing that came to your head. Ah, but was I not right? Whilst venturing towards foreign climes, you do find yourself in a most troubling predicament, do you not?
Well, yes, maybe.
Ha! There you have it, you see. What do you make of that, Well, to be honest, the ship is en route to England, and I'm in handcuffs at the scene of a murder. So, I'm not really sure you could call it deduction. It's more plain observation. Indeed, an observation, my dear boy, is the basis of all deduction. My method is founded upon the observation of trifles, you see. I announce my findings with a brassy certitude, and more often than not, I'm right. I think you introduced yourself. Ah, my apologies. How remiss of me. I am none other than the greatest detective of the century, known to men and women the world over, the inimitable Sherlock Holmes.
So, it's really you, the actual Sherlock Holmes.
The very same. The inimitable actual Sherlock Holmes. Do you know this man, Susato-san?
The most famous detective in the world. Naruhodo-san, of course I do. There's nobody who hasn't heard of them.
What planet have I been living on then?
We must ask him what he's deduced. He will have worked out the entire case already, I'm sure.
Really? Why do I feel uneasy about this? So, you're a great detective, are you? Sorry, what was your name again? Indeed, I am none other than the one and only Sherlock Holmes. Oh, I see. You're German? Herlock, was it? No, I have no I mean, I have hair. Please, call me Sholmes. You can read all about my exploits in this exciting London publication.
Oh yes, Ronst magazine, full of wonderful short stories and interesting articles. And interest articles from Great Britain. I never miss an issue. I have it sent from England, especially.
Ah, yes, here it is, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. So, you're the protagonist in a series of short stories, then? Indeed I am. You've read so many of your own stories, you've started to think you really are a detective. Make no mistake, I'm not the poor deluded fellow you take me for. Your inference is backward. Backward? My trusty biographer records my greatest detecting achievements and chronicles them in a magazine. You have a biographer, do you? Doesn't everyone? Mine goes by the name of Dr. Wilson, presently keeping shop in London. Dr. Wilson. I must say, thanks to that publication, I've been fantastically busy of late. Why, this very moment I am returning from Asia, having solved the mystery of a cursed royal crown. Really? Can't work out whether I should take this man seriously or not. Deduction, you see, is to me a science, logical reasoning in its purest form.
A science?
Really? The astute observer notices even the most subtle of reactions in his subject. A furtive glance, a twitch of a muscle, a slight inclination of the posture, fingernails, arm sleeves, furrows in the skin, all these things are data. Right. And the trained logician makes deductions from this data in the blink of an eye. The ultimate conclusion is, without fail, the truth. As I demonstrated only a few short moments ago. How can he look me in the eye and claim that? So you see, I have a turn both for observation and for deduction. And fame. That is what makes me the one and only,
Sherlock Holmes.
Have you managed to deduce anything about this particular case yet?
Have I managed to deduce anything, my dear fellow? Who do you suppose discovered the culprit in his most cunning hiding place?
That's right.
It was none other than the great detective before you now, Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
Ah, I see. In other words, I'm in these now because of him.
When I became anxious about Kazuma-sama this morning, I summoned all of the crew members to force the cabin door open.
And I concealed myself among their number, gaining entry to the scene of the crime. Yes, luckily for everyone, the great detective Sherlock Holmes was on board. The handcuffs seem to be an excellent fit, Mr. Naruhodo. Very moment I laid eyes on the scene, two facts were immediately apparent to me. Oh really? 2 facts, you say? Mr. Sholmes, tell us, please, what 2 facts were apparent to you when you came into this cabin this morning? Ah, yes. But first, let us be precise. The 2 facts and questions were immediately apparent to me. Yes, I understand, but what were they? Allow me to elucidate. Elucidate? Elucidate. The 2 facts that I deduced from a mere momentary glance at the scene of the crime were as follows. Number 1. The cabin was locked from within, rendering escape of the culprit out of the question. Number 2. The victim was Russian and killed following a dispute with an acquaintance. Now hold on, Mr. Sholmes. What makes you think the victim was Russian? Observe the dying message left by the victim on the floor. I have no idea what that word means. That is the Russian word for wardrobe.
Do you really think Kazuma-sama could have left a dying message in Russian?
In their final moments, many find their native tongue filling their head. For this young man, Russian. Kazuma was Russian, was he? Initially, I considered Godrobe, maybe the name of the killer, a certain Robert God, perhaps. But in the interest of thoroughness, I decided it would be wrong not to look inside the wardrobe there at least.
Where you found Mr. Naruhodo sleeping soundly.
Quite so. I found you, the renowned Russian revolutionary killer. Why is it that I'm Russian too? I observed that you were wearing the same attire as the victim. In other words, you were acquainted. And if my memory serves, my outfit is the traditional dress of the Russian people.
Our school uniforms are the traditional dress of the Russian people. I had no idea.
And I had no idea a detective could do something so wrong. I took a photograph of the victim and the message, and I might analyze it for possible hidden details. Yes. I was taken immediately after the young man was discovered before the body was removed. Yeah, Kazuma had already been taken away when I woke up. It's the first time I've actually seen him like this.
Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh,
yes, thank you. Can I ask you something, Mr. Sholmes?
What, pray?
You mentioned Russia before as well, didn't you? You know, when you said I was a fearsome revolutionary fleeing from Russia and all that? Ah, yes, the train of reasoning that led me to the truth. Would you mind explaining that train of reasoning to me, do you think? Certainly, if it interests you. How many times? I'm not Russian. I don't speak Russian. Can we talk about your deduction before? The things you concluded about me, I mean. Ah, the now famously accurate, troubling predicament you found yourself in. Actually, it was the other details that I was more hoping to discuss. You know, the merciless Russian revolutionary and assassin of 16 part. Ah, yes, the more sordid details. That's a fairly commonplace deduction. Here we have this morning's paper. The main headline reads: Revolutionary villain Bolshevik. Villain Bolshevik flees Russia via Shanghai. This vessel made a port call at Shanghai yesterday, and last night, a young Russian was murdered. Since when was Cosmo a Russian?
It sounds like Mr. Sholm has concluded he was a Russian because of what Kazuma-sama wrote on the floor.
It was a simple act of reasoning to realize that the culprit of this crime was the same merciless revolutionary, one who would kill the very man who helped him to escape after his true identity was discovered. Yes, you, villain Bolshevik. No, how could it be me? I don't look anything like this man, just look at the face! Well, you're a fierce and revolutionary after all. Therefore, you have no doubt learned to revolutionize your appearance as well. Oh, please. And, I might add, your name does not appear on the ship's passenger list. Need I say more? That's because I'm a stowaway?
What about the other details? The 16 victims' assassination and blowing up the Crystal Tower?
Ah, yes, the journalist clearly interviewed the man and printed all those particulars in the article. The deeds the man has perpetrated thus far, and those he is plotting. Yes, everything about this revolutionary Bolshevik was included. There can be no mistake.
Do revolutionaries usually agree to interviews with newspaper reporters, I wonder?
What about the part where you said I was just returning from Afghanistan? Also quite clearly stated here in the article. Bolshevik has recently returned after a period of subversive activities in a war-torn region of Afghanistan. Where even is it anyway, this Afghanistan place? Here, take the paper for yourself, as a little memento of this great deduction. Oh, yeah, thank you. I've absorbed all that is of interest to me within its pages. I see no rubbish bin nearby. And you may find the article on the back page of interest as well. On the back? Cast your eye over it sometime if the interest takes you. You may need someone to interpret. Alright, let's start looking at some stuff here. Oh, he did. Nothing in his hand. I don't see anything in particular on there. I can't find anything out of place. There we go. This is interesting.
Have you found something relevant, Naruhodo-san?
Well, no. I mean, it looks like it might be interesting.
I can't read a single word, I'm afraid.
No, nor can I. Look at this picture. Perhaps it's about a beautiful Russian young Russian princess, do you think?
She is very pretty, isn't she?
I suppose you enjoy articles like this, do you? I don't know. I can't make any sense of it. Ah, glad you noticed this article. Allow me to give you a short summary of its contents. Oh, thank you. He pops up everywhere, this Mr. Sholmes. He's in the room. It's about the disappearance of a young lady last night. Renowned prima ballerina of the Novovich Ballet disappears from Shanghai. During a performance in Shanghai, the famous dancer was reported missing. She is, of course, the talented young Nikolina Pavlova. Why are Russian names so hard to remember? It would appear the woman was in costume when she was found to be missing from her dressing room, wearing the diamond tiara you see pictured, which is worth some 20,000 rubles. Oh. How much is 20,000 rubles?
I have no idea, but I'm quite sure it must be an unbelievable sum of money.
Susato-san's eyes are shining like diamonds themselves. The tiara is the property of the Novovich Ballet. It would seem the director is beside herself with worry. Yes, I'm not surprised. The company is most anxious to recover both Miss Pavlova and the valuable tiara. They've requested international assistance at all ports with sailings to Great Britain.
Could this be another case of a Russian fleeing his or her country?
Does seem to be the Russian thing to do.
I'm not even going to dignify that with a response, Mr. Naruhodo.
Cool. Okay, we got that. Alright. I think that's all I can glean from those. It's all written in Russian. I couldn't hope to read it, but I suppose it wouldn't hurt just to glance at the article. Like I already did. Okay. Before we started talking, you were examining Kazuma's desk, weren't you? Kazuma. Ah, yes, the victim.
Did you notice anything useful? Anything at all?
Observe for a moment the desktop of the victim. We see that the victim was engaged in pinning some text. London diary. Kazuma was keeping notes of the trip. Ah, but I don't think you should read his private writings. It could upset people. Tragic. Something you ought to perhaps elucidate before the act of reading. You mean you've read it all already? It is my business to know what other people do not. Yes, believe it or not, I know a smattering of Japanese. Oh, I see. Well, you're about to know what a Susato takedown is. Susato-san? Aren't you going to throw the detective with one of your trademark takedowns?
I'm sorry, Naruhodo-san. What on earth do you mean?
Life is so unfair. Anyway, to return to the matter at hand, namely this diary belonging to the victim. Would appear the final sentence is incomplete, as if the author were cut short. Tell me, what is the nature of the writing? Pray, be precise as to details. Oh, but I thought you knew Japanese. A smattering, dear boy, a smattering. Sayonara, bonsai, mikado, nado nado. I trust you're suitably impressed. This diary is littered with complicated-looking characters, of which I can read precisely none. Oh, God. The only way this makes sense to me is if this is Sholmes. Okay, one of two things. One, he's just an overeager cosplayer. Totally justifiable. Two, this is a young Sholmes before he becomes the Sherlock Holmes that we all know. So what was all that showing off about before then?
If you would be so kind as to show me, I would be happy to read it to you, Mr. Sholmes.
I'm much obliged, my dear madam. Oh, that was a excessive flourish.
The final entry here in Kazuma-sama's diary consists of just 2 short sentences. The first reads, 1:23 a.m. I can hear a faint whistling sound.
Whistling sound? These are very deep waters. Pray, go on.
The second sentence reads, 1:35 a.m. What looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill.
A speckled band? What on earth does that mean?
I have no idea. Never heard that expression before.
Ventilator grill, you say? Man was presumably referring to the lattice there on the wall, which connects to the adjoining cabin. Yes, the adjoining cabin. So, I believe I've given you enough to consider for the time being, at least.
Do you have somewhere to go?
As it happens, the victim's writings in his diary have piqued my interest. The matter warrants further investigation, I believe. And if I am still too long, the seasickness takes hold.
Oh, I suppose you're thinking of investigating the cabin next door, which the ventilator connects to.
Great detectives are a curious breed. Our minds rebel at stagnation. We crave mental exaltation. So yes, I intend to investigate. Hence, the truth will become clear soon enough. Do you think perhaps that we could go with you? Nope. That would be somewhat complicated. What? But why? A simple glance at your wrists should reveal the answer. Oh. These. After all, you're the prime suspect in this matter. No? No point in trying to turn it into a question. You're the one who decided I was the culprit in the first place. Whatever do you mean? I have no recollection of naming you as the culprit at any point. You must be joking. You just said it only a moment ago. Dear me, you are clearly misguided. I would have no cause to say such a thing.
Well, actually, Mr. Sholmes, I did hear you say that too.
You're quite sure? Well, that's very strange. Wouldn't have said you had the face of a criminal, you know? Well, really? So, what, you were looking at my knees before? Some great detective you are. Well, anyway, that was then and this is now. What do you mean? What I mean, sir, is this. If you are the culprit, then you must play the part more convincingly. Roll over and accept your fate. Now he's just being plain rude. And off he goes, having just laughed in my face. His humor is as twisted as his name.
Naruhodo-san, what are you just standing there for? We must go and investigate the cabin next door as well.
Aren't you forgetting something? What about these? No way I can...
After Kazuma-sama spent his dying moments struggling to leave us a clue, you're willing to give up. You're just going to roll over and accept your fate.
As if you gave me any choice in the rolling over part. I think we still have some investigation to finish off in here first, don't we? Let's carry on examining what we can in this cabin while we wait for a chance to slip next door.
Good idea.
Situation doesn't look good for me, but there are still things I can do to help myself. And I owe it to Kazuma to do everything I can to find a way out of this, and bring the real culprit to justice. Is that?
Is something wrong, Naruhodo-san?
Oh, no, it's just that crewman standing by the door. I can't help feeling like I've seen him somewhere before.
Oh yes, you're right. He does look familiar. Excuse me, sir.
Oh my god, are you serious? Yes. What can I do for you? I recognize that face, but it can't be. It is!
I didn't know you were here, Inspector Hosonaga.
Hello again. What are you doing here? I think that should be my line. I was so stunned when I saw you, my heart stopped.
Nearly stopped, I hope.
I received some special orders to go undercover as a member of the crew and board the ship. Again?
You certainly seem to enjoy undercover work, Inspector.
If there's anything I can do to help you, please ask. Never expected to see this man on board, but perhaps his presence can help me out of this hopeless situation. So what are your special orders this time, Inspector?
Yes, and why are you dressed as a member of the crew?
I'm so sorry.
This is all my fault. I take full responsibility.
For what?
My orders were to act as Asogi-san's bodyguard. It was Minister of Justice Jigoku who pushed for this overseas study tour to go ahead. And he entrusted me with ensuring that Asogi-san reached Great Britain without being assassinated.
Assassinated? How could that even have been a possibility?
I'm not sure. These are complicated times. There are tensions between the world's greatest powers. Minister Jigoku said we should be prepared for all eventualities. This is incredible. I don't believe it. Kazuma-sama was assassinated? Obviously, we couldn't give Asugi-san a visible security escort. Which is why I'm undercover now, posing as one of the crew. See, I didn't take my eyes off him the entire time we've been on board. From morning until night, every day. But I never imagined it would happen here. Inside his own cabin, not here on the first-class deck. I failed miserably at my assignment, and Asugi-san is dead as a result. I'm a disgrace. All I can do is humbly apologize. Inspector. Though if there's anything at all I can do to help now, just say the word.
Well, we're doing what we can to investigate Kazuma's death ourselves.
I thought you might be. You didn't do it, did you? You're not the killer?
Of course not!
You'd really like to investigate the cabin next door.
Yes. So we need to be allowed out of this cabin.
I'm sorry.
What?
You've been deemed a risk to the ship's safety. If you move to even touch the handle of the cabin door, that stormy-looking seaman there would surely snap your neck in two.
I suppose I'm not just a stowaway now. I think I'm a murderer as well.
Would it be possible to give me something to work with, do you think? I'm going to need something persuasive. What do you mean? If I had a solid reason why the next door cabin should be investigated, for example, I'd do everything I could to persuade the captain to allow it. Really, I'd lay my life on the line if I had to. But I don't see how... There may be a way.
What? Really?
Think of how you tried to persuade me of your innocence, Naruhodo-san, by presenting me with a piece of evidence that you already had in your possession. Evidence. Is this the same as when you are in court? You must have done it many times during your trial. Simply select the present panel and choose something evidence that Inspector Hosonaga could use.
So evidence that would give us a viable reason to investigate the next door cabin, is it? Alright, yes. I think I know what we might use. Present the diary.
What's that?
It's Kazuma's diary.
Just before he died, Kazuma-sama wrote something rather strange in his diary.
Strange? In what way?
He wrote, "What looks like some kind of speckled band is tingling from the ventilator grill."
A speckled band?
That is strange.
Yeah, we're still trying to work out what he meant by that, but
what I'd like to know is...
Don't tell me.
A ventilator, is it? You're very astute, Inspector. That ventilator clearly joins to the next door cabin.
That's right. So if we could investigate in there, we might be able to work out what the speckled band was.
Alright then. I can't leave this cabin at the moment. I'm stuck here until we arrive at the next port. Cabin has given me strict orders to guard the scene of the crime, you see. I'll have to entrust the investigation to you. Really? You're willing to do that? Yes, as long as you don't leave the first-class cabin area. I'm afraid I can't remove those handcuffs, though.
But what about the captain? Are you going against his direct orders?
I'm a man of my word. And and I promise you that I'll lay my life on the line if that's what it takes to convince the captain. After all, I failed to keep Asagi-san safe, so this is the least I can do.
Thank you.
Let's seize the moment then, Naruhodo-san. Select move and we can leave this cabin at last.
Move. Alright. Let's see what we can find out. And we will do that next time. Unfortunately, it's already been nearly 3 hours, and I have a feeling this investigation part is going to be A, extremely interesting, and B, take longer than 10 minutes. So, I'm going to go ahead and save here, and that is going to be all that we're going to do for today. So, if you've been watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. Been having a ton of fun with this. I'm very much looking forward to where this case is going to go. I have a feeling, since I'm only streaming for about 3 hours, this is going to take me 7 months. But, just for this case. But, we'll see how long this case takes. My God, I cannot talk anymore. And then we'll go from there. So, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next YouTube video, I guess.